As the name suggests, in asset management leadership, we are seeking to align both the asset management activities, functions with the overarching organisation's vision, mission, and strategy. We can do that through demonstrating commitment through our actions, the way we act, the way we talk, our communication, and of course, our role modelling. We can inspire teams to embrace that whole of life perspective of assets, but also a whole of life perspective in terms of service delivery, which, as we know, assets support that service delivery, so those two life cycles go hand in hand. We want to build a culture of collaboration, not just consensus, freedom within a framework leading us to innovation, and of course, continuous improvement on the back of plan, do, check, and act. But we need to ensure that leadership exists at all levels, not just through or at the top management level. It's one thing to speak about asset management, but it's another thing to really demonstrate leadership in asset management. The real risk here is that leaders endorse asset management simply in words and in theory, but not really in actions, i.e., talk the talk, not walk the walk. So we need to encourage leaders to model those good behaviours, understanding the life cycles, understanding the different functions of the business, maybe going out and visiting sites, and then holding out and pointing out where examples of good asset management lies, but where opportunities for better asset management also exist. The risk is people do not understand how the work that they're doing, whether it's on assets or supporting assets, how does that translate back up to the bigger picture of the organization? And when people can't feel that connection, they can become disengaged, dissatisfied, and make decisions that sometimes are opposed to where the organization needs to move to. So to get clarity of direction, we can provide clear communication goals and connect them to everyday tasks. The obvious starting point would be the organizational objectives, going down and through to the strategic asset management plan, arriving at asset management objectives, and therefore informing our lower level planning around asset management plans, technical maintenance plans, people plans, commercial plans, etc. When we think of asset management leadership, we need to be very aware that asset management can be seen to be a technical perspective and therefore the responsibility of specialists only. We need to bring ourselves back to thinking about the coordinated activity of an organization. We need to look at engagement across the different levels of the business, across the different life cycles of services, life cycle of assets. So the remedy to this would be to empower, and as you can see, and support and enable leaders at all levels to take ownership and drive asset management objectives, not just those that are touching physical assets, which is often the myth. Adaptability is one of the three outcomes of asset management as defined in ISO 55000. With that adaptability becomes the need and the ability to change. So therefore, from a change sponsorship perspective, we run the risk that leaders may fail to actively sponsor different asset management improvements, different asset management changes, whether that's a configuration change, service change, function change, whatever it might be. The remedy, we need to train leaders in change sponsorship, change ownership, but also to holding them accountable for the results and the outcomes of those changes, not just responsible for contributing to them. When we think about leadership, we also need to be mindful of the cultures that exist within any organization. Should they be racial? Should they be different functions, different locations, different languages, whatever it may be? We need to be aware of the risk that leadership style may undermine that trust and respect of stakeholders, which therefore can discourage innovation, looking for things new, looking for better ways of working. So a way around this is, of course, to promote collaboration, looking at that transformational leadership style and support a positive culture. Good leadership in culture will be not making assumptions, but also have the ability to accept things as they are and work with that, as opposed to trying to go in and shift culture to the way that you believe it should be under your own thinking, because culture is all around us. We can influence it, but we cannot control it. Leadership in asset management isn't just a single event to appease an auditor or to make a customer smile and nod. We need to make sure that we sustain that commitment across all business activities: mission, vision, strategy, tactics, operations, life cycle. The real risk here is that leadership support drops after the initial launch of asset management initiatives, and then, as I've seen it before, the asset management function as a whole turns into a simple maintenance reporting section of an organization. We don't want that. What we need to do is build that asset management leadership into the governance and controls in the organization in support of decision making, establish KPIs, both lead indicators and lag indicators, and then look at longer term accountability, not just profit and loss, but actual longer term balance sheet oriented accountability. From an ISO alignment perspective, there are two key clause sections that really jump out in terms of asset management leadership. The first one, of course, 5.1, leadership and commitment. Again, it's not just a single event or signing off on the asset management policy. It is actually driving that commitment down through the organization. When I was convener of ISO 55001, we also discussed there's leadership and commitment at the asset management system level, the asset management discipline perspective, and of course, throughout our asset base, our asset portfolio. The second perspective, of course, section 5.3, the different roles, responsibilities, and authorities that exist going down through the organization, but also across the life cycle. So in summary, asset management leadership means guiding people to see how their work with assets contributes to organizational success. As a reminder, if you can get people to understand and accept, and a reminder that assets support services, so therefore the asset lifecycle supports the service lifecycle, which supports value delivery to stakeholders, asset management leadership becomes a conversation, it's less difficult, and you start drawing the organization into the greater benefits.